Welcome to Bridge the Atlantic's B-Sides, a show where we share material that doesn't quite fit in with our interview series, such as outtakes, bonus segments, and useful tips from your two favorite co-hosts, as well as the occasional surprise drop-in from some of our favorite previous guests.
We're your hosts, music web designer Ross Barber-Smith from Scotland, owner of Electric Kiwi, where we create awesome custom websites for bands, artists and musicians. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook as Electric Kiwi.
And I'm singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist Marcio Novelli from Canada, a man who wears many hats, literally and figuratively. When I'm not releasing music under my own name, I'm producing and mixing records for other artists. If you'd like me to work on your next song or album, just get in touch. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, and Patreon as my name, Marcio Novelli.
We're excited to share that we've made some significant updates to our Patreon page, and we invite you to become an official patron of the show to help us keep creating the show.
Yeah, perks include early access to content, of course, sponsored ads, not only at the end, but also now at the start of our shows, as well as your chance to co-host an episode alongside us. So, buyer beware. Just saying.
Buyer beware. Oh, well, yeah, we'll see what happens when that happens. Keep your receipt. We also got our official BTA shirts available to purchase on our website. I'm sporting I don't really know what to call this shade of red, but it's red. There's a link to get them in our show notes, and if you use the coupon code BTA Rocks, you will receive 10% off your purchase as our little way of saying thank you.
Speaking of shirts, if you're watching this episode of B-Sides instead of tuning into the audio-only version, you'll notice that I'm wearing my brand new Marcio Novelli shirt right here. Can you see that? See? It's pretty awesome, right? Pretty awesome.
Looks pretty good, doesn't it?
It does look pretty good. It was designed by this good-looking little guy. I can never know which side he's going to be on. I think it's this side. There. You're right over here. Sure. Yeah. Right over all the way from the other end of the Atlantic. Isn't that pretty cool? And yeah, you can pick it up on my website, marcionovelli.com/shop. I also recently released my brand new acoustic EP, The Reimagining Volume 1, and you can listen to it anywhere you like to download or stream music. I strongly encourage you to share it freely with the world and spread the love.
And that's available on your website too, right?
Of course it is. That's right. You just go to my website and it is there. All of it, all together. And one special little thing I am offering temporarily, so a limited time, is if you buy any piece of merch on my website, particularly these new shirts, which are pretty swanky, you get a free download of the EP. So do it up.
Yeah, even better. So we're going to talk a bit about podcasts today.
But we do podcasts like every week, man.
Don't I know
do we have to?
Well, yeah, because we think it's important that people know, if they want to be on a podcast, how to get on a podcast, what they need to expect, what they need to expect when they're doing the show, what they need to do after a show, all this kind of stuff. Because I think a lot of people don't really know. We
do this to help. So we want to actually talk about getting you onto a podcast and helping you strategize everything from getting on it to while you're on it to afterwards and just everything in between. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm drinking some. Everyone might think this is champagne here.
Well, it looks like urine to me. Like not very
fizzy,
not very healthy urine.
Wow, wow. This is actually something called kombucha. It is super good for you, and it gives you the same sizzly after taste or whatever you want to call it on your tongue, the bubblies, as like champagne or beer or something like that. So I like it. No alcohol, very good for you. Filled with probiotics. Do it up, kombucha.
Okay, and let's move on to the actual topic of our show.
Wait a minute, it doesn't take us long. It doesn't take us long to just totally go right off course. This is what happens.
No, and I suppose that's something, if you're being interviewed on a podcast, be prepared for conversations to go a little bit off topic, and that's part of it, and you have to play along.
Especially if your Canadian co-host is
drunk on kombucha or whatever he's drinking. So
okay, let's do this.
So I'm going to steer this back on track.
Okay.
So when it comes to being interviewed or featured on a podcast, it's likely you'll either be invited by the hosts or whoever's booking on their behalf, or you'll be reaching out to them in the hope that you'll be featured.
Right. And if you're approaching podcasts, make sure that you're familiar with their show and that you're a good fit. There's nothing like approaching like a hip hop podcast when you play heavy metal music. It's just
Yeah,
like it's
or
a waste of
approaching a
everyone's
vegan
time.
podcast if you're hunting animals every week, you know?
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
you know,
So like your message definitely needs to be relevant to their audience, and you both need to bring a benefit. Otherwise it's not a fair balance.
yeah. And it's the same if a podcast approaches you,
Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure that you're a good match for their show. But normally if you've been invited, they will have done some research on you and they've invited you on for a reason.
Maybe.
You'd hope.
Maybe. I mean, that would be pretty awkward if I got invited to be on like, actually, I was going to say an example dealing with like a political thing. I'm not going to go there right now.
If you were invited on like a pro-Trump podcast, for
Okay,
example,
so
you'd be
yeah,
like,
no.
No.
Me? Are you sure? Are you sure you got the right person?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think
so-
like first, once you've established that you're a good fit for the show,
Yeah.
if you're applying to be on someone's podcast, check their website for submission details, because there may be specific things that they ask for,
Mhm.
and if they're asking for these things, then there's a reason that they're asking for them. So probably be things like your website address, links to your social media, because they want to be able to check you out so that they can do a little bit of, I guess, vetting to make sure that you are right for the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, make sure you give that to them.
Yeah, and if they ask for email submissions, just keep that submission pretty brief. Tell them why you would want to be a good fit for the show, or why you think you'd be a good fit for the show, and what you can offer to their audience. I mean, we're a moderate-sized podcast, and we get flooded with emails, so I can't imagine how podcasts that have been around for much longer, and how many they must get. So I mean, just keep it short and brief, and short and brief. I think that's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's a long way of saying the same
Keep it
thing.
short and brief. And you know what? Keep it concise too while you're on it.
Yeah, that's always good. So I'm going to throw in some words that are not related to short, concise, or brief.
Okay.
I'm going to say, to make it personal, if you've checked out some of their episodes, let them know. I know I've certainly done that when I've wanted to be on some podcasts. I've let them know which episodes I enjoyed, because I want them to know that, yeah, I have listened to your show, and I do know what your show is about, and I enjoyed it. And it helps you to stand out as well, because it shows that you've done a bit of research. And I think you always want to have someone on your show that's enthusiastic about your show, because it definitely shows. I've said show a lot.
Shows, so many shows. And some shows will actually ask you to book through a calendar like we do, as they'll often record at specific times, or on specific days, because, we got to work it all into a schedule. And just one note though, if none of the times that they have available work for you, don't just disappear and not email them back. Let them know, because most shows will be willing to accommodate and offer for alternate times. Keep that in mind when you're trying to get on someone else's show. Don't just, don't be afraid to ask, hey, really want to be on this, but none of these times work. I mean, you might work a job that takes up, certain times, very restrictive, or you're a parent, or whatever you are. You're apparently a parent. Who knows? But anyways, once you've booked though, make sure to add it to your calendar so you don't forget, because that just looks really unprofessional if the host or host are waiting there and you're MIA.
Yeah. Yep. And unfortunately it happens, but hey. And I guess, if you've applied to be on a podcast, or you submitted to a podcast and you've not heard back, don't be afraid to follow up with them, maybe a week or so later. Because I know we get a lot of emails. I'm sure lots of other podcasts get a lot of emails. You don't always see them. You don't always have a chance to get back to them. And I think sometimes following up shows that you are very interested in coming on the show, which can also be, it can kind of spark another listen, or checking out your stuff a little further. But it doesn't always guarantee that you're going to be on the show. So just because you've submitted to a podcast and you followed up with them doesn't necessarily mean that you are the right fit. It just might not be the right time for you. So don't take it personally. I would say don't give up completely, but don't pester to get on the show.
Yeah, I was just going to say, speaking from our own experience, Ross and I only really check our email once a week on Tuesdays. You know what I mean? We have someone else that takes care of booking now. Christine Infinger.
I love you, Christine.
From 30 Roses. Go check her out. So I mean, just, I would not email more than once a week. And if you haven't heard back in by the second or third week, wait a month then. You know what I mean? Because then you just, again, if someone just takes a break from their email, and they just get pestered, it's too much, you know what I mean? But I think at first once a week is fine for 2 or 3 weeks, but then back off a little bit. And definitely don't go rude. Don't think the person's ignoring you. I mean, they might be, but just realize that people are busy. You know what I mean? It happens. Yeah. And also, like, another approach, though, and without pestering again, there's a fine balance between respect and being not, the word aggressive is not what I want to say. Being on top of it, I guess. Is there another word? I can't think of the word. Determined. There's a fine line between being determined. Yeah, persistent and there's a fine line between being persistent and being
annoying.
Yes, annoying. So what I was going to say is, if you really aren't hearing back from them, just find them on social media. You know what I mean? Send them a kind, quick message. Again, not if it's been a day. I'm talking if it's been a month or two. Like, if it's really given time, just be like, hey, I reached out. The person might be like, oh my God, totally didn't see it. Then everyone's happy. You get it figured out. Figured out.
So once you've landed the interview and you're being invited to be a guest on this podcast or other media outlet, because this could apply to various different things. We're just talking podcast because, we do a web show and podcast, so it makes sense for us to be talking about that. Well done, because it's a big achievement. Out of probably hundreds of submissions, someone said yes to you, or out of the thousands and thousands and thousands of artists that are out there, they've approached you and they've said, hey, I want you to come on my show. That's a pretty big thing.
It is. I mean, do your little dance. Feel the good vibes. I know I do sometimes. You just got to do it. You got to feel it, because as artists, and I think just as people in general, I think that we too often get hung up on all the no's, because there are a lot of them. I'm not going to lie, but we really need to teach ourselves, I think, to focus on all the yeses, no matter how few they are. And I think that that's the message I really want to start delivering on this show, just to focus on the positive. Focus on the yeses and keep going with that. Go in that direction.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because I think as creative people, we go through so many different phases of doubting ourselves and wondering, are we good enough? Is what I'm doing good
crisis,
enough?
Weekly existential crises.
Daily, multiple times a day. And I think, timing-wise, sometimes you might get a no, and that's just the worst possible time. But then I find that you always will get a yes at some point, and that really does lift you up. So definitely don't focus on the no's, focus on the yeses. And if someone says no, that's fine. You're not going to be the right fit for absolutely
everything. Take the no's as an
everything.
encouragement. I know I have, I still do, and it doesn't mean that you're not great, but maybe you can improve in other ways. Maybe you can improve as an artist, but maybe you can also improve in your tactics and how you reach people. Maybe you're being too quote unquote professional. You know what I mean? It's the music industry. Be chill, be a person, Maybe you're sending these long thought out emails and you're thinking this is amazing, but I know if I saw it, I'd be like, not in a rude way. I'd be like, I'm totally going to read this, but I'm going to get to it later. But then it gets buried.
And then later never comes.
Later comes, and you have the full intention for it. Yeah, so it's just like, it's just different try different things. I mean, like, one, success is built on multiple failures. And two, the definition of insanity is just trying the same thing again and expecting different results. So, change things up. Those are two quotes in one sentence. Wow.
Yeah.
And you see what I'm bringing it today, man.
You're on fire today. You're on fire. I mean, we started off pretty poorly. Let's face it. I mean, no one's gonna see that, but but we failed a couple of times. We got up on our feet, and now we're rolling along. So we're living proof.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
So let's talk about what you should actually do before you're on the show.
I would say start by listening or watching a few of the episodes of the show that you want to be on, so that I think that you can get a bit of a feel for the topics they discuss and a general vibe of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, I mean, I can say, like, from our show, sometimes people email and they say, oh, what kind of stuff will we be talking about? What questions will I be asked? And we have to say, look, it's not set questions.
No.
It's very conversational, but hey, listen to or watch a couple of episodes, and then you'll get a feel for what the show is all about.
Well, I think most importantly, get the vibe and the tone. You need to know what the tone is going in.
Yeah, but ideally you should know that before you accept the interview.
I guess if you're getting approached, it would make sense, right?
Yeah, I think you definitely need to be aware of what you're getting yourself in for, because it helps avoid any surprises, and again, if you let the host know that you've watched or listened to an episode, it just makes them feel good. It kind of gets you off to a good start.
Yeah, I mean, every time one of our guests tells us they've checked out some of our interviews, It makes us feel super awesome. Just straight up. Well, one, because we appreciate the fact that they took the time out to see what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not just saying me, 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 me. It's that whole idea we talk about. It's not just me, me. Like, they're giving back a little bit, and they're checking it out. But I think that too, it immediately shows us that they're serious about what they do. They're professional, and they go that extra mile, or for us in the metric system, the extra kilometer, which ends up leading, I think, to a fantastic interview. You know what I mean? Everyone's more relaxed and chill, and we're doing something for them, and we feel like they've taken interest in us. It's more so, it feels like we have a mutual interest. You know
it's
what I mean?
like that two-way street kind of thing. Because I know that some people have said, like, you know, they've not just researched the show, but they've researched us. So sometimes we'll jump on and someone will say, "Oh, Marcio, I just checked out your new album. It was really great." And Ross, I really like the work that you're doing. You know, I saw some of the websites you've done, and it's just nice to know that there is, you know, like you said, a mutual level of interest, I guess, from everyone that's involved in the conversation. I just think it really does help, even if we don't necessarily talk very much about what we do with the guest. It's still nice to know that there is like a deeper understanding rather than, oh, these are just two guys who are interviewing me, you know? No,
exactly. If you know what the hosts are doing, like it'll help you make sure that your message is relevant to the people like listening, not only to the show, but to them, I think, individually, you know, which means everyone benefits in the end, you know?
So what should you expect from your host as a guest, and what should your hosts expect from you?
Yeah, I think many podcasters, including ourselves, and I think any other reputable podcasters do this, they'll send out a guide of what to expect. This may or may not include like pre-written questions. We don't really do pre-written questions at all because we like this to be a conversation, a genuine conversation. We just let them know, check out the show, like I said, to know what it's like. But anyways, it might be pre-written questions, technical information, or kind of an overview of the format. The number one thing we send out to people basically is technical information. We tell them this is what they need to have set up and everything. We don't even really tell them much of the format other than saying that it's a
we say that there will be 20 questions. We'll ask you for some advice. Just general.
That's general. We just say we'll ask you advice. And we'll
so we
talk
don't want them to go in
release
completely blind. Like, we want them to have some idea if they don't have a chance to check out the show.
Yeah, but we're not like, we're going to ask you this specifically. We never do that. We just say general. Yeah, just so I think it helps ease anxiety a little bit, but without taking away the spontaneity of the moment, because I've done interviews before where I knew everything that was happening. It's kind of like it takes away, I don't know, like one part of it, like you think it actually relieves anxiety, but another part, like you overthink it and you're like, oh, I got to say the perfect thing for this question.
Yeah, and then you write out your answers and you're just reading them and it doesn't sound natural.
No, I'd rather it just be like in the moment, like regular conversation. With its pros and cons.
But as you're witnessing.
Yeah, exactly right. They would expect that you would follow their guidelines, I'd say, like we do, although people don't always follow that. As they are there to ensure that the recording goes as smoothly as possible, and it's the best quality. You know what I mean? Because no podcaster wants to put out something that is shit. You know what I mean? No. And you don't want to be on something that's shit. So, and always, if you have any questions, just ask.
Yeah.
You know, and if you don't get a good response or they're rude, maybe it's not the podcast for you. You know what I mean?
You can learn a lot from those initial emails.
Yes, you can. Yes, you
for
can.
Sure. And it shouldn't need to be said, but being on time is really important. And if you are going to be late, just let them know.
Yeah.
You know, an email to say, oh, I'm running late, I'm having technical problems, or whatever's happened, I'm going to be 5 or 10 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Most of the time, it'll be fine, but just let them know, because if they don't know, you know, it's going to get things off to a bit of an awkward
start. Again,
start.
from our own personal experience, when people haven't shown up, it's annoying because we're sitting around, we can't do anything. But when people have let us know they're going to be late, oftentimes we're like, oh, thank God, that's perfect. We have so much stuff we have to finish right now.
Yeah.
This is actually better. You know, but just letting us know shows, again, that it shows respect, I think, or mutual respect, you know what I mean? And it just, it's common decency, that's all it is. It allows, you know, the other party to do what they have to do, or to get to what they have to do, or just take a break even, which is very rare and very welcome.
Welcome.
You know? As a guest, though, you should expect that the host have done some research on you. You know what I mean? So again, do some research on them. And they should be familiar with who you are, and if you have something to promote, whatever that is. And if they don't, just let them know. They might ask you, they might say, you know, do you have something to promote? Just let them know. Don't throw them like 100 things. I'd say throw them like max of 3 most prominent, important things that you're promoting right now. Maybe a new EP or album, a tour, And I don't know, and if there's any pertinent information you want them to know about you as an artist as a whole, if you do something really interesting, you know, that helps you stand out, just something like that, let them know so they can mention it.
Yeah, and like you touched on as well, we would expect that the guest would have done some research on the host. We've kind of touched on that already. Just kind of knowing what to expect from the show, and at the very least reading those guidelines that get sent out so that you're prepared when things get started, because there's nothing worse than, you know, someone coming on and finding out, oh, I need to have a webcam.
Yeah, we've had that before. You know, we've had where people didn't realize there was a web show component to it. So we've made some efforts to make that extra clear. But it just helps the whole process, because, I mean, if we have to stick around spending an hour just trying to get you set up with something, it just means that we have to do a quicker, shorter interview with you, and we got to go right away. Whereas, at least for you and I, we like to stick around after the interview and chat with the guest. Even from the artist's viewpoint, I often like to just chat with the person that's interviewing me, whether before or afterwards. You know, before just to get a little comfortable, and afterwards to thank them and chat a little bit. Because at the end of the day, we're people, man. It shouldn't just be. From the artist's viewpoint and from the podcaster's viewpoint, I don't want this to just be like, hey, jump on, see you later. Like, I don't want it to just be like a job, quote unquote, for anyone. You know, I like it. I actually want to form meaningful connections. That's just how, I think that's how you and I like to approach life in general. And I mean, if that's how we approach life in general, why not allow that to come, you know, boil over to our respective careers as a musician and a music web designer, as well as, you know, our joint career or hobby, whatever you want to call it.
Venture, let's call it a venture. That's
our venture,
probably
it's not
accurate.
A hobby would not.
It's not a hobby, but it's also not a career. So a venture, I think, is good.
Well, because a hobby means that you don't take it seriously, and a career means you're actually making money off it.
Exactly. So I think venture is...
venture is a good word. Yeah, venture is a good word.
That's what we're going to go with.
But yeah, I'd say that mutual respect and politeness is expected. You know, as a guest, you wouldn't expect your host to be rude towards you. You know, and likewise, hosts would expect the guests to treat them with the same respect. You know, so I think respect definitely goes a long way, and it goes both ways. Yeah,
definitely. And I'd say once the interview's been recorded, edited, and posted, as a guest, you should expect that the host will promote the episode. I think that almost goes without saying. Why would you record something and not promote it? But likewise, the host would expect that the guests would also share the episode. And you know, I know that you can definitely vouch for this, because a lot more work goes into a show than many people realize. So
especially when it's not just a podcast, it's a web show and podcast.
Yeah, I know.
It's 10 times the amount of work.
From booking to research to recording to editing, posting, there's so much involved. So from the host perspective, it's important that the guest helps to push that episode out to their audience as well, because otherwise we're not reaching as many people as we would hope to, and it doesn't really justify the work that goes into it if not everyone's getting on board.
It's off-putting, man. It's off-putting if somebody doesn't just do their end of it, you know. And why wouldn't you want to? If you do an interview, why wouldn't you want to share it with everyone that you've done? Because the hope is that they're going to learn more about you, you know. In fact, you know, we've been pretty lucky. I'd say 96% of the people who have come on our show have been really awesome with some of them go the extra mile to pre-promote it, to just be like, oh, it's coming out, and that's great. It makes us happy, and also makes us want to bring them back, not just because they're promoting it, but again, it just shows that general feeling of like, we're all in this together. You know what I mean? We're all in this to help each other. Just like I said, it's the same idea of checking out the show beforehand and just seeing what you're getting into and being respectful and promoting it. It makes us want to have you back. And, you know, we don't interview anyone more than once ever. At least not as of now. We have someone on once, and, you know, we dedicate that whole episode to them. And, you know, one of the reasons we brought B-Sides out was for the opportunity to bring some of these guests back, right? So just saying, if you were someone who was on the show and you're just like, didn't even mention it once to any of your following, just said, yep, you know, you did an interview for me and screw you guys. I mean, you're not going to be coming back. And it's not us being vindictive or anything. It's just, you know, how do we justify doing that time if at least you're not going to share it as well? And you know, let people hear what we all did together, you know? To put a positive spin on that, we're simply going to favor the people who went that extra kilometer.
Kilometer, sure.
But that person, you know, those people that took that extra initiative and cared enough to, you know, thank us and show that they appreciated it, I guess, just like we appreciate they coming on. You know, it's, again, two-way street. And those are the ones that we're going to be like, oh, you know what, come back on to B-Sides and let's talk what you're doing. Which, speaking of which, you're going to be seeing that over the next few installments. You'll see some previous guests, some of our favorite previous guests come back. And because so far the first and second installment focus kind of more on myself and then on Ross, and a bit, we had a lot of stuff in the bag to kind of share with everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, going forward, I think that we're excited. It's always going to be a mixed bag. That's what B-Sides is all about. But we're excited to bring a few people back just to talk about what they're up to, because it's been like a couple years since we've interviewed some of them, and they're on to all completely new and exciting things that we want to tell everybody about. But it just wouldn't make sense for us to go and talk for a whole half hour again with them and retell their whole story again. Makes no sense. If you do want to learn more about them, though, you can just go to the interviews. But yeah, I mean, with both sides promoting, you'll get the best results. You know, both of you will reach a new audience and hopefully gain some new followers who appreciate the message and content that you're each sharing. It's as simple as that.
It is. And with that, I think it's a good time for us to wrap up. But before we go, we are going to be taking a short break for June. We still love you, but we need some time. Well, you know, there's reasons though. I mean, I'm actually going on tour, and Ross, you're having a much deserved vacation. I'm going on vacation.
That's
so,
right.
Yeah. So that's what's going on with us.
Yeah. So you won't get any new stuff from us in June. So just enjoy the break. Enjoy the break.
Catch up on old episodes. I mean, I know a lot of people on Twitter have been saying, you know, they've got a lot of episodes to catch up on. So you know what? Take June as your time to catch up. And then by the time July comes around, you will be all caught up. You'll learn lots of new stuff, and you'll be ready for the episodes that are coming your way in July.
This is our gift to you. We're doing this for you.
We're giving you the gift of time.
We're giving you the gift of time to catch up on previous episodes. Yeah, and actually, when we do return, I want to know which ones you guys you're catching up on, and just tweet us. We're still going to be on social media and everything, so just tweet us. Let us know what you've been watching. And let us know who you'd like to see on an episode of B-Sides, who you think we should bring back onto B-Sides to see what they've been up to.
So you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, and YouTube. Don't forget to visit our website and pick up one of our shirts while you're there.
Yes, and I recently released a brand new solo EP, like I mentioned earlier, the Reimagining Volume 1, and it's available everywhere and anywhere that you stream or download music. I'm also working on my second full-length solo album, and you can be a part of it at marcionovelli.com/pledge. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and Patreon, which are all my name, Marcio Novelli, Marcionovelli. I feel like I'm in grade school.
You just won the spelling bee. Congratulations. Can you use that in a sentence?
Marcio Novelli loves Ross Barber-Smith.
Oh God. Okay. So I'm working
on websites. I'm trying to be nicer.
I know, but please don't. Please don't. You don't need to. You don't need to. We can do that off cam. It's fine. And I'm working on websites for various artists at the moment. You can check out my work at electrickiwi.co.uk, and I can't really think of a way to use electric kiwi in a sentence because it doesn't make any sense. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram as Electric Kiwi, and on Facebook, Electric Kiwi Design.
This episode was brought to you by 30 Roses, a virtual assistant and consultant to musicians and other creatives, as well as Chris Keaton, Music Entrepreneur HQ, Music Launch Hub, Buck Naked Soap Company, and Social Surge. All links are in the show notes, so please check them out, because what do they do, Ross?
They help to keep the show alive. And if you would like to sponsor the show too, visit patreon.com/bridgetheatlantic. As we mentioned, we recently updated the rewards, which now include sponsorship at the start as well as the end of our episodes. There's also the opportunity there for you to co-host an episode, and we will be doing some live streaming for patrons only too. So with that said,
it'll basically be like a live B-Sides. Basically just be you and I talking.
Could be.
But interacting. It won't be a live B-Sides. That's not what I'm saying. But you know what I'm saying.
Do you know what? We don't even know what it's going to be.
What is in this drink?
I have no idea. But yeah, please make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes so you don't miss any episodes. Yes. And leave us a comment and let us know what you think of the show. And also let us know if you think Marcio should stop drinking whatever that is.
No, it's so good for you. Okay. That's it for B-Sides. We'll be back, not next week. We'll be back in July, the first Tuesday of July, with a brand new interview. And can't wait to see
We
it.
will, but you know what? If you're subscribed, you're going to get a notification about it.
Yes.
So don't even worry. Don't
really,
even
it's
worry
pointless.
about what month,
Yeah.
what week, what
You
day
don't even
it
have
is.
to worry about anything. Yeah.
No.
We've got
Don't
you
worry.
all taken care of.
Subscribing takes all your worries away.
That's right. That's it. See you next time.